Welcome to Topic North Texas, Volume 3. I'm TJ Gilmore with the North Texas Commission.
And I'm Andrea Coker, also with the North Texas Commission.
And today we've got our first and special guest. We have Mr. Joe Arnold. And Joe works for Texas State Technical College.
That's correct.
So, Joe, you're the Deputy Vice Chancellor for Government Relations. Tell me what that does.
So basically, my group is in charge of informing legislators in the Capitol about how legislation affects TSTC and what could we do to make it better, what things out there would harm instruction or slow down progress of getting folks into good paying jobs. So our job is to inform the legislature and answer their questions about higher ed and how it affects businesses in Texas.
Awesome. So, of course, for those of you who are following Topic North Texas, we tend to deal with issues that are dealing with the massive amount of growth that we're seeing here in North Texas. 8.5 million people today, 12.5 million here within 20 years or 30 years. I forget the number. But about one person every 3.5 minutes moving into this area. How does Texas State Technical College fit into that?
So TSTC was born in 1965 to address just those needs of the technologies that were coming into the state and nation at that time, and we've grown with it ever since and continuously change our programs to meet the new changing needs of technologies that are in the workforce. So if you look at it, in most companies, for an operating engineer in the chemical industry, there are 8 to 10 technical roles to support that one operating engineer. So you see there are a lot more technicians out there to keep us rolling and to keep everything working and to build the new infrastructure for Texas. And so it's important that TSTC has the ability to interface with employers and to turn out exactly what they need so that they're job ready when they leave TSTC.
And so when you hear TSTC graduate, what are the most common jobs that are coming out of TSTC?
Oh, well, so it's our diesel mechanics, welders, cybersecurity. It's not all about working with your hands. There are a lot of IT jobs that are in the technical field. Advanced manufacturing is one of the big ones. The chips. I mean, look at how that has blown up in Texas over the last few years, and the next one coming is the data centers.
Yeah. So where are you?
So we have 11 campuses in Texas right now, and our 12th one soon to come in Denton County.
All right.
And we're really looking forward to having that campus up and running here in Denton County soon. But it starts in East Texas and Marshall, goes down to Fort Bend County and just outside of Houston, Harlingen, back up to New Braunfels and Comal County, Williamson County just outside of Austin. Then you go up to Waco and then Red Oak, just not far from here. And then there are 4 campuses out in the West Texas region, including Abilene, Sweetwater, Breckenridge, and Brownwood. And
you guys, what's really interesting about the model is that you can't just go anywhere. You have to prove up your case to the state legislature, and they have to open a county for you. Is that how that works?
Oh, absolutely. We're at the beck and call of the legislature. If they say go to this county and build a campus and serve those people, that's what we do. So we often have people that will approach us from different regions in the state saying we want a TSTC. We help them do the math and see if it works for them, to see if they're first could you get those needs served somewhere else in your county from an existing college? Mm-hmm. And so we work with the locals and try to determine that. And then if the locals want, they push it with their legislative representatives, and we work with them to help navigate that process. But yes, that most recently happened in 2023 when they granted us authority to come to Denton County and to Comal and Guadalupe counties.
Gotcha.
Now, a traditional, like Dallas College, is a taxing entity. So if you live in Dallas County, you pay Dallas College tax. How is TSTC funded that makes it a little bit different?
So we're a state agency, so we can't levy property taxes. There are no property taxes that come from the state of Texas. It comes from the other municipalities, school districts, and community colleges. So the only way that we're funded is from the legislature for our operating funds and then tuition and fees. We can't levy a tax. We don't have access or have very limited access to capital funds until recently.
Speaking of recently, we were talking just earlier about the Prop 1, which was just on the ballot in November, passed and that went directly to TSTC. Tell us about how that's going to affect how y'all do business going forward.
So once the voters approved Proposition 1, it created 2 funds. Both of those funds will be held at the Comptroller's office. So it'll be at Acting Comptroller Kelly Hancock has purview over that now. And the money will go from general revenue to the Comptroller's office. They will invest those monies. The investments that come off of those monies will then go into a separate fund that's called the Available Workforce Education Fund. That's the fund where we will draw down. We estimate right now somewhere between $50 and $52 million a year will be available to TSTC for capital improvement projects. Probably in about, the first payment won't be for about another 18 months. They have to set the fund up. It has to grow. And then it's a true endowment. We will never touch the principal, only the interest that comes off of it.
And it's not going to be for operating costs. It's for investing in infrastructure and new campuses.
Absolutely. We can't pay the light bills. We can't pay salaries with that money. It has to go for equipment, new buildings, infrastructure. We can buy land with it or existing buildings, and we can pay debt to buy those properties as well if we were to do a bond.
Okay.
So that handles your facilities costs, but what is the mechanism for you guys to get funded on the day-to-day, the operation of TSTC?
So it's much different than other colleges across the country. We were the first one in the state and the nation to have a true outcomes-based funding model. It's called the return value funding formula. What happens is the state of Texas, through the Texas Workforce Commission, follows our graduates when they leave us and go into the workforce. They follow them for 5 years. They total up their salaries, and then they back out median wage and put that into a formula that takes into account the taxes that these folks pay and the return value to the state of Texas. That number we're paid a percentage of to TSTC. That's how we get our operating funds. We're not paid for enrollment. It's strictly on the outcomes of our graduates. So if they don't get a good job, we never get paid.
Gotcha. And so when you're opening up to a new community, they're coming to the table with funding, with land. How are you building or working with the communities across the state to get one of these up out of the ground?
I'll give you an example for Fort Bend County, which is our most recent one that we have a full-fledged campus on.
A beautiful campus, by the way.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's really great. The community there wanted TSTC in their community in Rosenberg. And so they went to several foundations in the community, and they raised the money to buy the land and to build the first building. And after that, we then went to the state legislature, and we got, they used to be called tuition revenue bonds. They're now called CCAP program bonds. And those bonds have built the other buildings that have been there since then. Of course, now with the endowment, we'll have money that we will hopefully be able to leverage with local communities and find other avenues so that we can build campuses quicker in those new locations.
Gotcha. Do you spend a lot of time working with let's say an Encore or some other type of local business that they have a pipeline of a particular type of job that they need done? Are you working with them to pay tuition? Are they putting money into an endowment? How are you working with those folks?
Absolutely. So, I mean, that's our bread and butter. If we don't tailor our programs to the business industry, then they're not going to get hired. So we have our own foundation, the TSTC Foundation, and we work with local businesses to raise money for scholarships and for other program needs that our students have while they're there with us. You know, in the two-year sector, a lot of those students are maybe one flat tire away from dropping out, and they need some special assistance. So we have food programs. We do a lot for our students to make sure that they can stay in school long enough to get that really good paying job. And it works for us very well. We also have a whole division that's called Career Services that works between the students and the business industry to make sure that we match those folks up. We have job fairs on our campuses. They come out, and if you've never been to a TSTC graduation, it's really a wonderful thing. I MC several of those, and when they walk across the stage, they say their name, and they say they're starting their career, and they give the business name because they usually have a job before they walk across the stage.
That's a kind of a big deal. I know a lot of college graduates that
definitely
have had it.
Graduated for sure.
Yeah. It is a huge deal, and their family members are there, and you know it lifts families, whole families out of poverty when they come to TSTC.
That's great. That's great to hear. So what would you want North Texas to know now that there's, the potential for the Denton County campus? What would you want North Texas businesses, individuals, what would you want them to know about what help you need or what you can bring to the table or what kind of conversations that you guys are looking for over the next, 18 months, let's say?
I think what we need to hear from the community in Denton County is tell us exactly what your needs are. We think we have a good idea because we have data folks that drill into all the data for the jobs posted and all of that. But it's the nuances of those jobs that we need to know. And do you have any special needs now that are maybe not based in a credit program, but a short-term training program that we could provide? We have that accelerated training that we used to call workforce training. It's kind of like a continuing ed program at another college. If you have those, we can come in right now and set up and teach actually at your facility. So it's those kind of conversations. And we also need to know, are you expanding? Do you have plans in 5 years to be even larger than now? Some of those may not be able to share with us, but
sure.
Let us know so that we can help scale to meet the need that's going to be out there.
So let's say I'm a small service business, but I need some technical competency. Am I a good person to be talking with you guys, or is this the Caterpillars and the Sunt Constructions of the world?
No, of course, all of those folks are with us, but it's the small folks that do a lot of the hiring. We crosswalked our hiring folks with our businesses with the members of the Texas Association of Manufacturers. Over 56% of those local manufacturers in Texas were hiring TSTC students in the last 10 years.
Wow.
That's amazing.
So yes, certainly. If you've got a small business, let us know. We can help you too.
Well, thank you for the resource. I think that's amazing.
Now, your government relations, and sometimes government relations are called in when maybe there's misconceptions or things they need to go lobby on behalf of to the state legislature. What are some misconceptions about TSTC? What are you constantly having to walk the halls of the Capitol, clear up in your asks for funding and support for these students?
One of the biggest ones is that we are a statewide agency, but as you mentioned in the very beginning, we don't have authority to work or put a campus anywhere, and we don't want any more campuses right now. We're full to the max. We need to grow what we have, right? We need to get into Denton County. We need to get these things up to scale and running. So one of the things that we have to talk about a lot is we're not trying to. We're not trying to take over a community college. We're not trying to do something they already do. But if
that would decrease the value of your graduate, and you wouldn't get paid as much.
Exactly. You're exactly right. So if there's a need for 500 welders annually in Denton County, and there's already 600 produced, we're not going to open up welding in Denton County. But if there's a need for 500 and only 250 are being produced, then there is a need. And, we're not going to come in and duplicate programs. That's one of the biggest things that we do at the Capitol is put out those rumors that, we're not trying to, you're trying to take over my little community college. No, sir, we're not. Or no, ma'am. It's far from that.
Great. Well, Joe, thank you so much for your time and your input. We're really excited to have you here in North Texas and being a part of the machine that makes things go. So thank you.
Oh, thank you for having me. I really enjoy getting out and talking about TSTC. It's a joy for me.
Love having you here. So
thank you so much.
Reach out to us, folks, if you want to talk with TSTC, or reach out to Joe. It doesn't matter. We can get you connected. They're doing a great thing out here.
We are recording this on what is filing deadline day here in Texas. It's basically a holiday if you're into primary filings in Texas. We've all been doing nothing but watching Twitter and seeing who's filing for what, because we all woke up with the exciting announcement that Colin Allred has dropped his bid for the Senate and is running for the House again, but in House District 33. So it's a very exciting day. Everybody knows that is because we are about, what time is it? An hour away from Congresswoman Crockett announcing that she is running for Senate. She's already filed that paperwork down in Austin. She's up here to do a big announcement. We are waiting to hear what we already know, that she's going to be running for Senate, the same thing she's been teasing for a month. And she told us a month ago, 2 months ago, the filing deadline was December 8th, and we weren't going to know before then. And she was right.
Sure enough.
She told the truth.
No, she has done nothing but string people along for a whole month, and I'm sure the fundraising is going to be amazing.
I'm sure it's excellent.
Yeah.
So I thought there's a lot of primaries. And TJ, if you had to guess how many open state and federal seats just open there are for that someone new will be in by the end of 2026, how many would you guess?
The state of Texas,
the
or
state
just
of Texas.
the state of Texas?
The state of Texas.
20.
It is 41. So we have a lot of exciting
I'm not even close.
We have a lot of exciting primaries that we're going to get to be watching for the next few months. But what makes them very interesting is in the redistricting, Dallas County had, or North Texas-ish, had 3 Democrat seats. That has been shrunk to 2 Democrat seats, with House District 32 currently held by Democrat Julie Johnson in her first term being redistricted to be a +10 Republican seat, which means the primary to watch there is Republican, and you have a sitting House member who is basically seatless. She's not going to run for a Republican seat. So in the math and the chessboard rearranging, Julie Johnson in 32 is now running in District 33, which is currently held by Mark Veazey, and Mark Veazey is running in House District 30, which is currently held by Jasmine Crockett, and Jasmine Crockett is running for the Texas Senate, which is all of Texas. But, and now the spoiler to this is, Colin Allred said, I'm not running against Jasmine for the Senate. I'm going to run for House District 33 against Julie Johnson, who took his seat in the House 2 years ago when he left to run against Ted Cruz. So, sometimes the Democrat primary in Texas is boring.
Not
this
year.
Is not the year.
This is musical chairs at a very severe level.
It is. And a lot of people talk in Texas about how Democrats vote in the Republican primary because the Democrat primary isn't interesting. They want a voice in what happens in November. You're not getting that this time.
No.
Any Democrat who cares at all is going to be voting for Senate, in the governor's race. They've got an attorney general's race. They're going to be voting on that Democrat side, whereas the Republicans have plenty to do. And we talked a little bit about last time. Nothing's really changed in the Republican Senate primary. It is still Senator John Cornyn, Attorney General Ken Paxton, and Congressman Wesley Hunt. That's not really changed. The only And we're saying this at 3:40 on Monday. Chip Roy has not yet filed his paperwork for Attorney General. I am assuming that by the time this reaches your ears or your phone that he will have filed, but it's interesting that he's waiting so long to put in his paperwork. There's always a reason. We don't know it. You don't know it, but maybe we will know soon.
Whenever I file and if I file last minute, it's because of family. I just blame them. That's yes. How it works.
Like, oh, my kids.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Problem.
Yeah.
The open seat that is interesting here in Dallas or in North Texas is that seat 32 that's been redistricted. I think a lot of people were waiting for an elected official, maybe from the state house, to come in here. Many people had said Katrina Pearson from the Rockwall area, that district now has all of Rockwall in it, was going to come in, and she decided to refile to run for re-election in the state legislature. And so that has left that field a little bit open, so you're not seeing the names that you thought maybe you might see if that hadn't been. The ones who had filed at this time were Monty Montez, Ryan Binkley, and Daryl Day. All have filed officially. I'm hearing that Jace Yarborough may file before the deadline today. That is going to be an expensive primary because it's going to bring a lot of people out. Nobody has name ID yet. They're all going to have to buy that name ID or hope that President Trump decides to get in, because that really is it. Whether you love, like, or hate President Trump, he is the kingmaker in a Republican primary still to this day.
Yep, he does. So anything that's just normal, that's not going to be an issue, that's not going to be crazy.
Normal is last cycle we had so many contested primaries with a lot of money behind them. And I think what you're going to see is there's still a decent amount of contested primaries in the state house. A lot of people's names aren't going to be on the ballot. You're not seeing the money candidates come in. You're not seeing the full-throated support of the attorney general or the governor behind some of these challengers. So Morgan Meyer has an opponent, but nowhere near the opponent he had last time. So far, Angie Chin-Button had not drawn an opponent. So far, several of our new members have not. Shelley Luther.
I don't think Ben Bumgarner's pulled anybody yet. Ben
Bumgarner has not drawn an opponent. I don't believe Mitch Little has an opponent yet. And if they do, they'll be self-funded, mostly candidates. And so I don't think you're going to see the vitriol in the state house races. Really, the most contested state Senate race has already been not decided, but its runoff will be in February, because that was voted on in November to fill Kelly Hancock's seat, and it will just be Lee Wamsgans and the Democrat candidate, I cannot remember his name at the moment.
You're the expert on this. You're supposed to remember that stuff.
To be fair, that's a Republican seat. It's going to be Senate
Yeah,
Lily
that's fair.
Wonstein.
That's fair.
And so the most interesting primary in the Senate is going to be replacing Senator Birdwell, and that will likely be David Cook, who's currently serving in the House. He was mayor over there. He's very beloved in that entire area. I don't see anybody being a challenger really to him.
Yeah, no, that's there'd have to be something catastrophic that would happen.
In perusing the list of candidates, I did see there is a man running in a contested primary named Freddie America, and I do think that should win some sort of award.
I love that.
For
I love that.
Best name on a ballot this cycle. It might be Freddie America.
Well, I mean, we do have a history in Texas of some very interesting names on the ballot.
We do. We've all voted in an election where Secede Kilgore was on the ballot.
Yeah, well, of course, Kinky Friedman.
We love it.
The classic one. So, yeah, I mean, all sorts of great ones.
Yep.
So, any other information that we should be taking from the primaries that the general voter out there might be wanting to find out a little bit more about?
I think you're going to start seeing an uptick in ads. I got my first piece of congressional primary mail this weekend. You are going to get it on. It doesn't matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat or in a contested seat area or not. With the statewide primaries being like they are, you are going to get ads. They're going to be on your Facebook. They're going to be on your TikTok. They're going to be on your Instagram. There will be no escaping.
No, none whatsoever. And you would think that by now they would have figured out a technology where you said, I voted, and all those ads will go away. But that does not seem to be the case.
It is hard. I believe by a couple weeks out from the primary last time, my kids heard the name of one of the candidates, and I think at the time, 6-year-old daughter was like, she wants to lower taxes. And I was like, you know, it's gotten to full saturation point when the second grader knows the talking points.
Yeah, no, it's pretty impressive. I was at a lunch today, actually, with all of our Denton County legislators, and they were basically laying out the beginnings of the 90th session, speaking to Governor Abbott's comments on eliminating property taxes.
Okay.
And of course, my county judge was pushing back a little bit because the only thing that funds our counties is property tax.
They don't get sales tax.
They don't get sales tax. And so he's pointing out that the county has millions of dollars in debt for funding state roads. And so how does a county continue to function? And so it was interesting to hear the conversation kind of shift from, well, that's what you're hearing to get elected versus what's actually going to be worked on in the 90th.
And I spoke to one of your Denton County representatives the other day who admitted that a solely state sales tax policy going forward was not going to get us the funding we need and was not fair to average Texans who are just living paycheck to paycheck. So it is definitely a balance between we acknowledge that property taxes are a burden on Texas families and might be too high, but also we have to pay for things like roads and police and parks.
Right.
How do we do that? How do we work together to do that doesn't underfund cities and still gives people property tax relief?
And I think that is always the way that we need to approach taxation, is how do we find that way to fund what's needed, but to be able to remove or cut back where we need, maybe it's gotten a little inflated. People haven't kept an eye on it. And I heard some of that from our legislators as well today, where they were really speaking specifically to the state budget and how much that they've been spending. I did some back of the envelope math. And while the state has some interesting tools for budgeting, and they talk about the state has a cap. Well, if the state had a 3.5% cap over the last decade, they would have blown it 6 out of those 10 years. Now, they also have that's just on the rough numbers. But they also have some tricks, like whenever they do a constitutional election and they say, hey, we're going to dedicate money, that doesn't count against the cap because
very clever.
Because we voted on it.
That sounds like girl math.
Yeah, it's really entertaining.
Yeah, capital girl math.
Yeah.
Like
so you know it's one of those conversations where what's good for the goose is good for the gander, right? And so hopefully that and I think. Representative Little, I think, had the most insightful comment. He's like, we need to look at the whole picture and not the state versus the local. We need to look at that whole picture. But again, the big needle mover in all of this is going to be funding of public education.
Yeah. Well, and I think we are also entering it's mid-December. From mid-December to the first week of March, is the most conservative rhetoric time that there will be in a 2-year cycle.
Right.
And so some of it is just taking a deep breath and going, okay, let's reassess in April.
Yeah.
Once we get past the primaries, once people know and can start running for November again, and everybody moderates just a little bit, not a lot. It is still Texas.
Still Texas.
But once people start moderating just a bit and come off of that primary, all we need is a man and a bunch of gold bars running the government a la Ron Swanson.
Right.
It starts to make a little bit more
It
sense.
makes a little more sense. It absolutely does. Well, I think, without anything new coming in on the TikToks,
Yeah.
that's all we have. I mean, we'll put something in the notes below or something. I'm
When
sure.
all I've said it winds up being wrong because of a bunch of filings at 5:02 p.m. before the 5:30 deadline.
We could do more of this if you like what we're doing. We could do more of this with some sponsors. So give us a holler. Let us know how you can maybe help us get to a more less than a monthly cadence. Maybe we can get every 2 weeks or something like that. We'd love to talk with you about it. But with that being said, we have both our things to read, cool stuff that's going on. What do you have? What do you have for this month?
Okay, I'm going to do it. I'm just going to recommend it because I know you're all watching it anyway. It's my favorite depiction of Texas, and it's Landman.
It's Landman.
It's Landman.
I have not seen it. Didn't they just get renewed for a 3rd season?
I'm sure they did.
Yeah.
It's the only thing worth watching on TV at my house on Sundays. It is appointment television.
That's okay.
I have a note going in my phone of the most absurd things said on it, just so that I can remember and do it again.
I'll have to pick that one up. So
I can't repeat any of them on this podcast.
Fair. Well, I mean, we are on YouTube, so I mean, I think we can.
I think our boss would disagree.
I might agree with that.
So it's yours.
Yep. Folks, I when I look at a podcast, I'm not going to recommend podcasts as a whole, although there are some really great ones, and I have in the past. But they're like specific episodes that I think sometimes are really insightful. And here's one that kind of flew beneath my radar, but I listened to it the last couple of days. And so if you've ever heard on KERA, Chris Boyd, she is amazing. She has a show called Think. And she's a Gen X, just like me. Sorry, I'm so old, I get my letters wrong on which generation's what at this point. I mean, but she has a great show on KERA called Think. It's distributed nationally. But she had one, and I'm getting down here to look at it. And it's how reward programs trick their most loyal customers. And I'm like, okay, I'll listen, but it doesn't. I mean, I know it's a game. The airlines change the number of points every year, so it's it's not. I paid $5 for this thing, but now I'd have to pay $10 for the same amount of points. It's all a game. McDonald's and the Monopoly board that they do now, that's all digital. Well, it was interesting because it was the lead attorney for the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau, which has been shut down basically, but he started talking about it in terms of you can't buy anything like just cash anymore. You can't buy things anonymously.
No.
Everything you do, it's basically a tax for privacy. So think about it. When you go to your grocery store, if you want all the discount prices,
you're putting in your phone number.
You're putting in your phone number, and then they take that phone number and the amount of data they can get from a phone number. If you've not seen this, folks, it's incredible the amount of information once they have your phone number.
I went in to buy my daughter some bubble bath into Lush this weekend, and they wanted me to download their app.
Yeah.
It's like, you can't have all my phone data
right.
for $5 off a bath bomb.
And that's the thing, right? Once you put the app on the phone, the app is reaching into your browser. The app is reaching into your GPS. It is looking at all the other things you use your phone for, and it's taking that information and selling it to a data broker.
Which is terrifying.
Yeah. So McDonald's is now a data company. Right? They used to be a real estate company. Everybody thought they were hamburgers, but they really were a land company. And then if you ever watch that biography of Ray Kroc, you'll see what I mean. But now they're a data company, and they even talk about it to their shareholders. So this one, while it's how these rewards programs trick their most loyal customers, that's not what this one is about. It's really fascinating. It's really about privacy rights, and maybe there's something in the state legislature we can talk about for the 90th.
All right. What a way to end it then.
There you go. Well, thank you all for joining us. Please like and subscribe, do all the things, do the shares. We'd love to see you out there, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, guys.